and we're exploring an alleged cover-up culture here in Jersey. This week we found out what an inquiry into historic abuse in the island will consider, the terms of reference, that is, what exactly the investigation will look at. These have now been set, and these have now got to be agreed by the state, so they could be altered, they could be amended and so on. Such concerns about Jersey's so-called culture of secrecy have spread to Westminster. The UK MP, the Liberal Democrat John Hemming, has recently called for an investigation into allegations of cover-up of crimes in Jersey, and he joins me from Westminster this morning. Mr. Hemming, are you concerned that Jersey is corrupt?
I think, yeah, there are situations where things have been done which are clearly corrupt. Now, obviously, going into the details of any individual issue on the radio has its challenges, and therefore...
You don't have parliamentary privilege, so what you can say in the chamber of the House of Commons is not the same as you can say here with me this morning.
Yeah, but the theory of parliamentary privilege is that as long as, you know, that I say what I believe is true, and that on the basis that I believe that it is true, I then don't suddenly find myself facing masses of writs on all sorts of fronts. Now, when you have corruption, you don't necessarily, it's not that everything is corrupt, it's just that some things are corrupt and some things don't work. And one of the difficulties is, when you don't have transparency, and when you don't have systems of accountability, for instance in Jersey, you can't do a private prosecution, you can't actually apply for, as I understand it, apply for judicial review of prosecutory decisions. Now that means that if there's a decision not to prosecute something, there's very little people can do. So it creates an environment where it raises concerns procedurally to start out with.
So given that we have a system that is not perfect, which system is ever perfect, what do you think we in Jersey should do to make ourselves A, more accountable, B, more transparent, and less likely to be victims of corruption?
I think the issues, as I said, about the issue of judicial review and private prosecution are very straightforward issues, because both of those exist on the mainland. Now, things happen wrongly in the UK as well, but the difference here is there is a system to challenge them on an individual basis that is actually in an open court. And I particularly am concerned about the use of the Data Protection Act to stop people saying things, because if people say things that aren't true, they should be sued for defamation. And people would argue, well, if there's no money, you can't sort of get any damages. But actually, defamation is about reputation. It's about, you know, what's the truth. And, you know, if you look at what's happening in England on the North Wales thing, where they went very badly wrong with the inquiry there, was by refusing to reveal what the allegations were, rather than having them considered in public and found to be complete rubbish, if they were indeed complete rubbish.
Are you encouraged?
So you get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I take the point you're saying. Are you encouraged by the fact that we now have the terms of reference published for an inquiry into historic abuse in Jersey?
Well, the problem is it's sort of come and gone and come and gone and come and gone. And without me looking at the terms of reference, without me looking at who's actually performing the inquiry, is the inquiry in public, what access do people have, what challenge do people to have to the process? Because as I said, you can look at what's happened in England, and obviously there's a link between England and Jersey in terms of some of the issues to do with Hodol Goren. And I sort of, it's no good having an inquiry that is basically going to be another cover-up. So I don't know. To be fair, I'll be straight with you. I haven't looked at the terms of reference. I haven't discussed them with anyone in Jersey. I do not want to make any comment as to whether they're good, bad, or indifferent.
Finally, Mr. Hemming, you have spoken in the House and you've put forward motions that you are concerned that there are people here who speak out and have very sincere beliefs and indeed claim to have evidence of wrongdoing, who are oppressed and put down by the community here in this island. Do you have evidence to support that?
Yeah. Well, of course I do. I know the BBC hasn't actually, as far as I know, in Jersey, played the full speech I gave in the House, which isn't that long, in September. And frankly, if you wish to claim yourselves to be an adequate representative of the truth, you should be willing to at least report what I said in Parliament. And obviously I have evidence for it all. And you can see what's being done with the attacks on Trevor Pittman, for instance, where they're trying to bankrupt Trevor Pittman. Now, that's not very fair.
Well, you say they're trying to bankrupt Trevor Pittman. He lost a libel case. That's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, losing a libel case is one thing, but you don't then have to move to actually bankrupt somebody, do you? The point I make about these things, there are problems with legal processes, all right? Legal processes can be expensive. Now, if people are concerned about their reputation, that's fair enough. You know, you have a right to do that. Do you then have to bankrupt and disqualify somebody from election? It's that sort of decision to take things a step further that concerns locking up Stuart Sivray. You know, all the saga with him, that was very wrong. And you know, Stuart is not an elected official at the moment, but he was elected by the whole island. And I just don't think, you know, there are certain steps that people can decide they're going to stay away from, and one of them is not bankrupting Trevor Pittman.
John Hemming, thank you very much indeed. The UK Liberal Democrat MP and spoken critic of Jersey, John Hemming, who has recently criticised Jersey in the House of Commons for its so-called culture of secrecy, a criticism that was reported here on BBC Radio Jersey. It's 4 minutes to 9 o'clock. Let's pause for our more